Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain is set to go here at Snetterton. The first of 2 races for the cars today, and it is on a greasy circuit. We've had a fair amount of rain this morning. Now, is it going to be a race where you need wet tyres, or can you be bold and brave, go onto slicks, wait for the track to dry, and then come good late race? It's 30 minutes or 14 laps, depending on which comes first. Is it going to be sensible bravery? Let's see what's going to triumph in this race. Theo Elinas is on pole position at the back of the grid. Jake Giddings and Steve Gales, they will slot into place, and then we will be in business.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know what tyres everyone's gone to. The Brave will have gone with slicks. We saw a spin on the warm-up lap, but we'll have to watch the car's behaviour on lap 1 to see whether on wets or slicks.
We're about to go racing then as the drivers look towards the gantry. See in a moment for the light to go red, just on the little marshal's shelter on the left-hand side. As you look at the screen, it's Theo Elinas and Dino Zamparelli on the front of the grid. The light blinks red, engine notes rise. We go racing. Good start made by Dino Zamparelli. Slow start by Dan Harper from the second row. A really brave start by newcomer Valentin Asclo in the yellow and white car, who storms through from the 4th row of the grid, and he gains ground. Look to go to 4th place on the run into Richards for the first time. That was a very good getaway indeed. Now everybody tiptoes round, trying to find where the grip levels are. So far, so good.
Great start from Zamparelli, swept round the outside of Theo Elinas, but does that imply that maybe Zamparelli's on wets and Elinas isn't? Elinas, look, there's a bottleneck. Lewis Plato's through into second. I think Elinas is on slicks and he's losing positions to the guys on wets at the moment, but not by a great degree. If this is true, then Elinas will come strong later in the race.
He's staying in that leading gaggle, isn't he? So Dino Zamparelli leads the way. Lewis Plato up into second place. Dan Harper in the blue and white car on the inside line tries to go third. Off the road already, Steve Gales, that's up at Wilson. And as Zamparelli comes towards us, look, the car's all squirming as the power kicks in. Valentin Asclo, newcomer, is doing a great job there, up into 3rd place. Elinas goes back up into 4th at the expense now of Dan Harper.
Yeah, I'm sure Elinas is on slicks, and I think those other cars in front may be on wets, which, if I was calling this race, I'd definitely have gone on slicks. The wipers aren't going, and there's no spray. And a 14-lap race round here is a long race.
Indeed, and the circuit, assuming we get no more rain, is going to dry as they battle their way now onto Bentley Straight. This is Esme Hawkey, who had a couple of spins on the warming-up laps. But look at the lead that Dino Zamparelli has got. And was that a case of moving to the wetter part of the road already?
Yeah, he's already looking for the wettest part of the road, so he must be on wets. And, well, he's not that far ahead of Elinas, is he? So, I'm already convinced that wets would be the wrong way to go.
Valentin Asclo, to my memory, has never raced at Snetterton. There he is in the yellow and white car in 3rd place, doing a great job. Runs for Motorbase. Battles are raging on all the way through the order as they come out of bomb hole for the first time. Now towards Coram. One or 2 drivers going wide as well, looking for extra grip. So Zamparelli leads the way, and then 2nd and 3rd, Lewis Plato versus Valentin Asclo. The 2 of them nose to tail. Look, Theo Elinas is in 4th place. So yes, he's lost out relative to pole position, but he's not gone tumbling back down the order, has he?
No, he'd need to be sort of 30, 40 seconds, maybe even a minute behind, wouldn't he, later in the race, but he will clearly be quicker. He'll be building temperature into those slicks, and they'll just get better and better and better.
Over the timing line, 1 lap in the book, but Dino Zamparelli is trying to build up the gap to preserve late race. He leads already by 2.5 seconds. Now, don't forget, it's a long lap, but that's a big advantage after 1 lap. And look, 2nd, 3rd and 4th are all concertinaing. Asclo tries to find a way past Lewis Plato, and Theo Elinas now is right back in the game, isn't he? He's bringing Harper and Tom Wrigley with him.
Well, the moment those slicks switch on, and that's that Dan Kirby having his debut in the Porsche Carrera Cup. He's had a spin, but he's loving life in the Porsche Carrera Cup, and this is his first meeting. We hope we see more of him.
It's his company that sponsors the Team Hard cars in the BTCC. There is Dan Harper getting up the inside of Theo Elinas. Dan Harper has the inside line through Agostini up towards Hamilton. Can he make the move stick? No, he cannot. Theo Elinas fends him off. Take your chapeau off here to Valentin Asclo. This is a great drive.
Yeah, he's been racing in the French Carrera Cup. This is a moment further back. Oh, this is a spin for Dan Kirby. As you say, yeah, closely linked to the touring car paddock. But yeah, Valentin Asclo has been the French rookie champion in the French Carrera Cup, and a very, very quick driver.
Came out of Formula Renault, and so now learning about Snetterton, learning about English weather, and learning about how to find a way past Lewis Plato. Dino Zamparelli then leading the way, and still lapping quicker than anybody in sectors as he tries to push and build this gap. He's being helped a little by the squabbling going on behind, just delaying the drivers. Elinas, then Harper, then behind you've got Tom Wrigley and then George Gamble. The leading pro-am at the moment for Motorbase is Dan Vaughan, and the leading am is, despite the spin, Dan Kirby. And that's Steve Gales, who has had a rotation. He's in the pit lane, and this, in splendid isolation up front, is Dino Zamparelli.
Yeah, well, he can enjoy it while it lasts, but I'm sorry, it may not last for long enough, because the slick shot cars look like they're lapping pretty quickly. We'll watch the lap times. Zamparelli comes across the line. It's a 2:19. 2:12, sorry, 2:12, the quickest lap of the race on that lap. The others are doing 13, so he's only a second quicker.
Off the road, Ian Dockrell, that's a quorum. And now he's got to get off that friction-free grass, so he's got to get some traction to get off. So the road is drying. There over the timing line goes number 5, Fraser Robertson. And there, look, Asclo still attacking Plato. Tio Elinas almost up with them. Dino Zamparelli leads the way. And let's see what the gap is. 3.5 seconds. It's still going up. Zamparelli still has the fastest lap of the race to his credit, but there's a real bottleneck now for second place. Lewis Plato, elbows out, is keeping Asclo and then Elinas at bay. George Gamble going a little bit wide in the background. Here comes Elinas. Challenges on the outside coming towards Agostini. He really needs to get the inside line out of the corner. Can't do it.
Yeah, I saw Plato taking a similar line to Zamparelli down there, so maybe he's on wets as well. These guys have had a test day up here in the week. Of course, it was boiling hot.
And there, Asclo ran the outside of Plato to try and get second as they went through Hamilton. Now, did it pay off? Let's see. That's Jamie Orton for JTR going through. But let's have a look and see who is second. He's done it. Asclo has gone through. So Valentin Asclo up into second place. Down to third is Plato. Fourth is Elinas. And he is under huge pressure now from Dan Harper. This is a brilliant battle for second place. But still, up front, you have got Dino Zamparelli, who is now being caught in the sectors because his first sector was a 41. Others behind are doing a 40. So what Zamparelli needs now is some rain, be it localised or nationwide. But Dino Zamparelli it is, up front with the gap perhaps starting to come down now.
Yeah, it hasn't taken long, has it, for these slick guys to get the temperature up. And now we've got Elena. Oh, we've got a puncture there.
Yeah. And what's caused that? Is that an off? It's Jake Giddings, who was on a 10-second penalty start anyway. But is that somebody hitting him, or has he run wide and found some debris? Either way, that's a long limp home.
It is, and we don't want that tyre to come off. I mean, that'll be the worst. Oh, action now. Dan Harper through and Elinas through on Plato.
Well, Harper's got past Elinas and Plato, so Lewis Plato going backwards. This is up towards the timing line. Zamparelli leads up into second. Then now it is Dan Harper side by side for third. Back just ahead, Lewis Plato ahead of Tio Elinas. Behind them, look, you've got Tom Wrigley as they dive down towards Riches. So Valentin Asclo in second. He's the one that's already escaped. This is for third place. And that's Asclo off the road. Valentin Asclo, after a tremendous debut, is in the tyres coming out of Riches. So now Harper is second. Malheureusement, Valentin Asclo, arrête.
And of course, a safety car would be the worst possible thing for Dino Zamparelli, because that gap he's built up will disappear instantly. And perhaps a little bit of circuit knowledge missing there for Asclo, because, you know, regulars will know that you have to be careful. Look, he's just locked up, gone straight into the tyres. Very easy to do at Riches, and very little runoff.
So Valentin Asclo, after what had been a really impressive debut, sadly blots his copybook, and it shuffles the order with Dino Zamparelli still well clear, in fairness. 4.4 seconds to the good. Now Dan Harper second, Tio Elinas third, fourth Lewis Plato. That's the new order.
Asclo wearing his Sebastian Loeb Racing French Porsche Carrera Cup overalls. He drives for the former World Rally champion. Oh, and a dive up the inside from Wrigley on Plato.
Couldn't quite do it, but Wrigley, winner, of course, at Alton Park, also impressed in the Porsche Super Cup round of the British Grand Prix this year. Tries to find a way past as they come onto Bentley Straight. Now, up front, the man to watch potentially is Dan Harper, because on this lap, his first sector better than anybody in the race. He's chipping away to try and close on Zamparelli, and in so doing, shaking off Tio Elinas, who's busy defending from Lewis Plato.
Yeah, Harper's really got the bit between his teeth. He looks to be quick now, the quickest man on the circuit. And it would imply to me he took a fair chunk out in that first sector. We'll see the lap time when it come out, but he's clearly got his slicks working.
There, still limping back is Jake Giddings. We said it was going to be a long limp home. It certainly is. He's not there yet. So, up towards the timing line, it is Dino Zamparelli leading. 4.4 seconds was the gap. Has it gone up? Will it come down? Let's see. And more replays of dramas here on Bentley Straight.
Well, that's coming off one of the Team Parker Amigos cars. So George Gamble or Seb Perez looked like some bodywork rubbing on the tyre, didn't it? The left front.
Lead gap's gone up 5 seconds, so Zamparelli did the fastest lap. Dan Harper has gone even quicker, but the gap, and of course Harper was further back in the queue before Asclo went off. He's got to make up 5 seconds now.
Yeah,
Teo Elinas is dropping away.
Yeah, but look at the lap time difference. The lap time difference was a 2:11.9 for Zamparelli, a 2:10.3. So a second and a half faster for Harper. So the slicks are now a second and a half quicker, and there's only 5 seconds between them. And Harper is going to gobble up that gap into Zamparelli.
And can Elinas come back? Because, of course, he was the one trying to find his way up the order early on. Having been mugged by Harper, he's fallen back, and he can't chase because he's still having to defend from Lewis Plato. They have come through the first sector. Harper, 1.3 seconds quicker in the first sector alone. Never mind a lap in the first sector than the leader, Dino Zamparelli. So the lead gap is absolutely tumbling now.
Yeah, we're only well, we're only just over a third of the way through the race, aren't we? So it's going to be a case of survival for Zamparelli. Where can he finish? What points can he salvage? But he's just going to get swallowed up. Once you get to this situation, the wet tyres just feel like rubber moving around. All he can hope for, as you say, is some more rain.
So how's the rain dance been done? Is the team working on a rain dance as well in the pit lane? Now there is Jamie Orton, number 71. He leads in Pro-Am, but only just because Seb Perez looking for a way by. And that means that Dan Vaughan, who led the class earlier, has fallen quite a long way back now into third place. Jamie Orton going well this year in Pro-Am, stepping down from occasional outings in the Pro class last year. He's had 3 category wins this season, so driving for JTR, Nick Tandy's team. Decent season for him. Seb Perez chasing hard as well. So we work lap 5. It's a 14-lap or 30-minute race, depending on which is completed first. And the leaders are about to sprint their way over the timing line, and the gap between them is down to 3.1 seconds. Dan Harper has just done the new fastest lap, a 2-minute 9.4. That's nearly 2 seconds quicker than Dino Zamparelli.
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling for the driver in front. Zamparelli will be looking in his mirror, and he will know these guys are coming on slicks, and there's nothing he can do about it. But all he can do is try and save his tyres, keep them as wet as possible on that part of the track, but they will have overheated. The tread blocks on the wet tyres will be moving around, and it will feel awful.
Interestingly, Teo Elinas, who we thought was on slicks as well, was 1.1 seconds slower on that last lap than Dan Harper. So Teo's pace is just not good enough here. Either Dan Harper is an absolute revelation, an absolute star, or Elinas is so busy defending from Lewis Plato that he can't take the optimum line. But he's not really closing on Dan Harper, and he needs to be up with him.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, and we'll watch their pace relative to Zamparelli. I'm still not convinced which tyres they're on, actually.
The one thing we can legitimately say is that Dino Zamparelli is being caught. His lap times are going up, and Dan Harper, fastest man on the circuit, is inching up now onto the tail. As there, look, Teo Elinas, who started on pole position, is defending from Lewis Plato. Now, early on in the race, he was trying to find a way past. It took him a long time to get past Plato, and he's not been able to pull away. Peter Mangian is the leading AM. He is running here in 12th place overall. Behind him is Peter Kyle Henney, and then the third of the AMs is David Fairbrother.
Always a great battle in the classes. Peter Mannion and Peter Kyle Henney have had a great battle all year, haven't they? The wins fluctuating between the two of them.
Yes, if you're not called Peter, you don't really get much of a look in the AM Cup. But there, Teo Elinas running in third. Now, how's he doing in the sectors? Another 2/10s lost against Harper in the first, hundreds lost in the second, but he is in the middle sector a little bit quicker than Dino Zamparelli. Intriguingly, now that he's got new tyres on, Jake Giddings has done the absolute best of anybody in the first sector. Here, Jamie Orton versus Seb Perez for the lead in Pro-Am. Seb Perez round the outside for the first part of the old S's. Gets the place on the inside for part 2 through what is now Brundle and Nelson.
Well, clearly Elinas and Plato must also be on slicks because their pace is very similar to Harper's and quicker than Zamparelli's.
Zamparelli has just done a 2:08, and so has Dan Harper.
Oh, interesting.
So he's slower by a 10th, but the plot thickens, doesn't it?
Well, it does. So was I don't understand that. I really don't. With all my Porsche experience, I really don't understand that.
More coffee for this gentleman.
Yeah.
So it is Zamparelli to Harper. The gap is coming down. It was over 5 seconds. It's now 2.9. But last lap through, Dino Zamparelli did a 2 minutes 8.5, and Dan Harper 2 minutes 8.4.
Well, maybe they're all on wets and Zamparelli was preserving them.
Maybe,
Who knows?
yeah, and some have looked after them better.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Elinas's story, that he's trying to look after them and then push right at the very end. 44 you're looking at in all of this. Peter Mannion, he's on the back of Esme Hawkey, so that's Pro-Am ahead of Am. Esme Hawkey in 11th place, Peter Mannion is 12th. There is David Fairbrother coming under attack from one-time touring car racer Richard Hawken. 14th and 15th overall they run. Richard Hawken really enjoying life in Carrera Cup, and he's defending as well here from Gary Eastwood. The fastest lap of the race, by the way, now, Jake Giddings, after his pit stop, is 21st, but he's the quickest man out there.
Yeah, which might imply that he put slicks on.
Go along with that.
And everyone else is on wets.
Yeah.
Because no disrespect to him, but I wouldn't have expected him to be quicker than, say, a fired-up Harper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we can say that everyone's on wets, apart from Giddings.
And here, Richard Hawken tries to go around the outside of David Fairbrother, and it doesn't quite work, and so up the inside tries to charge Gary Eastwood. He's gained 1 place. Can he get 2? Not quite, but Gary Eastwood, former GT racer, single-seater racer, picks out 1 place. Richard Hawken tried to attack and ends up, rather than gaining, losing. Peter Mannion still trying to find a way past Esme Hawkey. What he would like is a cushion between himself and his class rival, Peter Carl-Hennig.
Yeah, very much so. I think that, going back to Gary Eastwood, he's loving driving the Porsche, but having spent so many years driving GT cars with ABS. And look, sorry, passing a back marker, but he's saying it's really difficult to control himself on the brakes and not lock up with no ABS.
Here are your leaders, the gap 2.3 seconds, and that's Jake Giddings again with the same corner having gone down.
Well, that's very strange. He's either hitting a curb that no one else is hitting, or there's something catching the car, the tyre underneath, but no reason for that at all, is there?
That's a very strange one. Dino Zamparelli leading by 2.3 seconds. Seb Perez here is your Pro-Am leader, number 66. So Jake Giddings has lost his fastest lap as well now. Dan Harper has done that at 2 minutes 6, as against Dino Zamparelli's 2 minutes 7 last time around. So the gap continues to come down between the leaders. And Seb Perez here, 3 times a winner within Pro-Am, having got past Jamie Orton, is getting away, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and driving well.
Jamie Orton up through Hamilton. As there, look, you've got Luis Plato ahead of Theo Elinas, so that's the change for 3rd and 4th. It's swapped back again, Plato back ahead of Elinas.
Yeah, and Wrigley coming at them as well. Giddings has had enough of these punctures, probably run out of tyres. And Jake's going to have to work something out for race 2 with his team. Yeah, Wrigley's coming.
Definitely so. And because they're squabbling, they're dropping away from Dan Harper. It's 4 seconds between Harper 2nd and this battle pack for 3rd.
It's very interesting, the dynamics of the hunting and the hunted and the hunter. You know, when you're leading the championship, you just want to preserve points and make sure you don't make any mistakes. You know, when Zamparelli was leading the championship, he was doing that. And it looked like Elinas was after him at every occasion. Yeah. Since Elinas has taken the championship lead, it's swapped over now, and now it's Zamparelli doing the chasing.
Esme Hawkey here still runs in 11th, but 12th is the leading Am behind Peter Mannion, and Peter is stuck now. He can't find a way past Esme because that's a battle for overall position, but it means those two in different classes are being caught by Peter Mannion's main Am category rival, Peter Carl-Hennig. So he's got to get past a car from a different category because it's putting his own class lead in jeopardy. Yeah, but it's not easy, especially in these conditions, because you break 20 metres later and lock up, and you end up like Astro in the wall, and you don't want that. So Esme Hawkey comes down now towards the completion of lap number 8. Up towards the timing line they will go. And Peter Carl-Hennig still with the wiper going, pressing on to get onto the tail of former Caterham racer Peter Mannion. Over the timing line they go. Now Dino Zamparelli has done the fastest lap of the race. He's now done a 2 minutes 5, and Dan Harper's last lap was a 2 minutes 7. So the lead gap is up to 4.3 seconds. Tim will now explain what this means.
It means he's going faster on whatever tyres he's on.
It's a really quirky race, this, isn't it? But Dino Zamparelli, perhaps now, giving us more evidence, he was being super intelligent and just looking after the tyres.
He clearly was. Yeah, clearly was.
Esme Hawkey, in the meantime, getting her spins out of the way on the green flag laps, doing a really good job here of keeping Peter Mangian at bay, much to Peter's frustration.
Yeah, it was very frustrating when you're fighting for the class points and there's another class car in the way, and Peter Mannion can see Peter Carhenny coming large in his mirrors in that very distinctive liveried car.
And there, look, George Gamble.
Yeah.
He's being caught by Seb Perez. George Gamble is not that far away from Tom Wrigley, who's not that far away from Elinas. More fun and games here up at Wilson. Who loses out here? Bit of hip and shoulder there.
Fraser Robertson
against Dan Kirby.
Yeah. Yeah, that battle for third place is going to get very intense, isn't it? With Plato, Elinas, Wrigley and Gamble all separated by just a couple of seconds.
That's right, it's all going to kick off. There's Justin Sherwood. He's fourth in Pro-Am. That's Dino Zamparelli, whose last lap was at 2 minutes 5.188, and he's now done 9 laps, and he leads by 5.8 seconds. No point for fastest lap, though, so he'll be disappointed with that, but he's making hay while he can and still enjoying a comfortable lead. So that carriage going up and up. Dan Harper is second, Lewis Plato is third, Tio Elinas fourth, Tom Wrigley fifth, George Gamble sixth. Here they all are in a line, coming now up towards the hairpin at Wilson. Through that right-hander, onto the power, down now towards turn 3, the speed building as you head towards Agostini, around the back of the paddock. But Dino Zamparelli has thus far, with 5 laps to go, done an outstanding job. Pushed just hard enough to conserve the lead, and now being able to up the pace once again.
He is now one of the most experienced drivers in the field, and he's certainly put that to good effect in this race. Made a great start, got a jump away from Elinas. Even initial jump was excellent. As you say, looked after his tyres in those initial laps, and now has the pace of everybody.
So, as there, whoops, contact. Richard Hawken into the back of Gary Eastwood, and past the pair goes Dan Kirby, and off the road goes Gary Eastwood. Goes harvesting, he'll get back onto the circuit, loses more places, and up the inside comes Fraser Robertson. And the rain is falling once again, we understand. Now, Dino Zamparelli leads the way. Off the road and back on again is Richard Hawken. More drivers with their wipers on. Richard Hawken versus Fraser Robertson, side by side. Fraser on the outside. We've seen him spinning this year, we've seen him rolling, but now he's doing a great job of defending.
Well, I would call it robust racing. It's good to see in these Porsches.
Down towards Agostini they turn. Through the left-hander, back onto the power. And here is where it all kicked off. Gary Eastwood goes a little bit wide, then gets the tap of the tail. Dan Kirby says, that's good. 2 places gained, thank you very much. Another bit of elbowing, and Gary Eastwood off the road.
Well, Gary sort of overcommitted, didn't he? And he dragged Richard Hawken into the late braking himself.
Dino Zamparelli at 2 minutes 4.720. Now, if we're saying that he's on wets and he's looked after them well, even though the road has been drying, surely they'd be losing their edge by now. And at 2 minutes 4...
Yeah, I mean, the track is getting dry. He's still searching out the wet lines. But, I mean, you know, by comparison, Pole was a 1 minute 50. So 14 seconds slower. That has to be a wet tyre.
Yeah, I'm just, in a sense, surprised that after so many laps, he's done 10, they're still being able to lap that much faster with the road having been dry. But now he's being saved because it's raining again, assuming it's on wet. So the quandary continues.
It does. But great tyre management from Zamparelli. Look, you can see the spots of rain on the windscreen there of Richard Hawken.
Esme Hawkey.
Esme Hawkey.
And she's dropped behind Peter Carhenny, look. And that means that Peter Mangian has gone through as well. So we are on lap number 11 for the race leaders, and we'll stay on board with Esme Hawkey coming over the timing line just to get a feel for what the conditions are like now.
And from a championship point of view, this is excellent news for Zamparelli, because this first race carries more points than the second race. After drop scores and penalties, he was only 1 point behind Tio Elinas, but he would get 12 points for the win, and Elinas, who is currently in 4th place, would get 6 points plus 2 for pole, so he'd get 8 points. So, in fact, Zamparelli would end up with a net 3-point gain lead in the championship. So having the other cars between him and Elinas is working out very well for him.
Absolutely. And Tio Elinas will be hugely frustrated, of course, because he was the man on pole position, so he's not converted it as the cars now turn through the infield part of the circuit. Dino Zamparelli, the race leader now by 7 seconds. It's not getting much wetter, is it?
No, that rain you can see on Esme Hawkey's windscreen, it's only a little bit. But look at the gap. That's Zamparelli just gone through shot. Ian Dockrell coming through as a back marker. And Harper, who at one point was only a couple of seconds behind. And then this great scrap for third. Plato, Elinas, Wrigley, Gamble. Who's going to be the bravest with the rain falling a little bit more?
Tom Wrigley into the threes. George Gamble even quicker in the 2-minute 3 bracket now. So these are cars getting faster and faster and faster, and they're in 5th and 6th places. So Zamparelli in the 4s, Plato in the 4s, but Wrigley and Gamble dropping into the 2-minute 3s. There's still a lot of shuffling that can come out of this with under 3 laps to go.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating race. A race I'd have enjoyed driving, actually. I love these sort of conditions, and it just brings out the best in people, doesn't it?
It does, and it's been a very, very impressive drive by Dino Zamparelli, but we're not done yet. His lead, though, greater than ever, 7.3 seconds now.
Yeah, excellent time management. The boy should be in Formula 1, shouldn't he?
He's got to get to the end, yeah. It's easier said than done, as was proven in the German Grand Prix, but up front, Zamparelli, Harper, Plato is the top 3, and we're still getting not only new fastest laps, but absolute bests in the sectors. So if that little bit of rain has come, is that helping the wet tyres once again? Here is Zamparelli in the first sector. He's pulled out another half a second over Dan Harper. He's in a league of his own. He
is, and he won't be pushing flat out now because he can manage that gap without taking risks. So he's clearly got a good car under him. He drives for Redline Racing. They have engineer Frank Funk, who's a great Super Cup engineer, doing the settings on the car. And there was talk before the race of how do you set the car, how do you set the roll bars, a little bit softer for these conditions, but with an engineer like Frank Funk in your camp, you're going to have a big advantage.
Now here is the Pro-Am lead battle, and this is a very fierce fight indeed. Seb Perez, having worked his way through into the lead of the class, is coming under huge pressure once again here from Seb Perez as they work their way through Coram. So together they run, and Perez trying to make the car as wide as possible, but equally with this pressure not put a wheel out of line. The leader has gone by onto lap 13. There are 2 to go.
This for the lead for the Pro-Am class. The second class, there's Pro, Pro-Am and Am, and this is a great battle. Orton and Perez have been at it hammer and tong all year.
Fastest lap now, Lewis Plato third on a 2 minutes 3.0. This is the Am lead battle. Peter Mannion just ahead of Peter Karlheinny. Peter Karlheinny had an off at this part of the circuit last year. He needs to try to find a way past Mannion in 2018 for a 4th class win of the season. It's 3-all between the 2 Peters. And look, they're being reeled in now by Dan Kirby, having his first race in Carrera Cup GB. What a debut this would be if he could win the class.
He certainly would. Just looking at the lines, middle of the road for Perez, trying to protect the inside line.
And Jamie Orton has the plan, but he can't find the space, can he? Lap 13 of 14 here. Dino Zamparelli still leading the way. Jamie Orton led the class earlier, wants that class lead back again. On board with Esme Hawkey. And this in replay, Esme Hawkey gaining ground again up on the inside to go ahead of Steve Gales.
Good move up the inside into Coram. Brave it needs to be. Here's back to your leader, Dino Zamparelli. Majestically keeping the car in front. Mechanics will have some work to do to clean the car. It looks absolutely filthy.
It's very Le Mans, doesn't it? Proper GT car, long distance GT racer this.
Yeah.
So he's got 1 lap to go at the end of this, and we've had lots to talk about in this race because of the weather and also because of some star drives. But Dino Zamparelli, if you wind back to the early laps, we were thinking he's on borrowed time. Far from it, because now he comes through with a lead gap greater than ever. Brilliant drive. Simon Leonard there, the man behind Redline Racing. Doesn't give much away with facial expression, but will be well chuffed, I think, with his man, the Yorkshire team running Dino Zamparelli, who's done a great job. Alex
Toyne holding out the board. He's his #1 mechanic on the car this year. Lots of experience with these cars as he worked in the Middle East Championship with Tom Oliphant, in fact. So he had experience with these new for 18 Porsche Carrera Cup cars prior to this season.
Now this battle, Theo Elinas versus Tom Wrigley, is for 4th place. Look, coming up towards Wilson. The order is Zamparelli, Harper, then Plato, Elinas, Wrigley, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And they tiptoe their way through the Wilson hairpin Dan Harper must be frustrated with this because he was tantalisingly close and has then dropped back again.
But it's interesting, can you see how Harper's now fallen back into the clutches? So he was clearly taking too much out of his tyres in that initial burst, and he's fallen back to the other group. So it's all been about wet tyre management. Oh, here's a change for the leading class as Orton goes through on Perez.
Back into the lead of the class then. Jamie Orton retakes the class lead, and we've got, what, half a lap to run for them, and really only a few corners to go for Dino Zamparelli in what arguably is the drive of his career. This has been absolutely brilliant because on a greasy road, which has been changing during the race, he's not put a wheel out of line, he's managed the tyres, he's made sure he knows where the opposition is, and crucially, that opposition has stayed behind him.
So strong was he in the early part of this race, he made us think he was on a different tyre to everybody else, but no, he just had the skill to do it, and he'll be delighted this win, and even more delighted when he sees his result for his main rival, Elenas, in fourth.
It's a new game in Carrera Cup GB, it's called Trick Tim, and Dino Zamparelli seems to have achieved maximum points for that as well after a really fascinating race, and there's a lot of scurrying around the paddock to be done now to say what tyres were you on, and we can piece it all together. But the one thing we are sure of is this is an absolutely stunning drive by Dino Zamparelli for Redline Racing. He comes through to win round 9 of Carrera Cup GB here at Snetterton. Dino Zamparelli scores victory, his third of the season. A great drive by Dino Zamparelli to win race 1, and then we wait and wait and wait for anybody to be second. Dan Harper should do it. Third, Plato. Fourth, Elenas. Fifth, Wrigley. And sixth, George Gamble. And of them, 3 of them set their fastest lap, the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. George Gamble got the best of anybody. Here is Jamie Orton to be 7th and to win in Pro-Am. Great drive by him to get the class lead and the victory on that last lap to take it back from Seb Perez. Brilliant fight between those two.
Just the AM class to be decided, and it was Mannion in front of Kyle Henney at the start of the final lap. They've been at it hammer and tong all through the race. Let's see who comes across the line first. It's Mannion at the S's at the end of the back straight. Still a quarter of a lap to go for Peter Kyle Henney to fight back. Really only one more opportunity into and out of the final corner, Murray's.
Here they come then, and is Peter Kyle Henney going to be able to take a win? Is Peter Mangan going to be able to hang on to it? What can Dan Kirby do? Arguably, the heroics ought to come in the second race when there's more repair time before the next round, because they've got another race to do today, and so it looks like it is going to be win number 4 of the season for Peter Mangan. That makes it 4-3 over Peter Kyle Henney, and so it is Peter Mangan who is the best of the AMs. Second is Peter Kyle Henney, and third, great debut for the podium for Team Hard Touring Car team sponsor Dan Kirby, former BMW and Ginetta racer. And not only is he third and on the podium, look how close he was to the 2 regulars.
After a spin as well.
Indeed, yeah, exactly right. And no safety car to bring him back into the game. So Dan Kirby's going to be one to watch for the rest of the season, no argument. But Dino Zamparelli, that was a champion's drive.
It was an excellent drive. He'll be absolutely delighted.
Again, for this race, Tom Wrigley, a winner this year, starts on pole position. Lewis Plato with him at the front, ahead of Teo Elenas and Dan Harper, with Dino Zamparelli on row 3, George Gamble for company. The 4th row, Jamie Orton, the Pro-Am Championship leader, alongside Seb Perez, ahead of Dan Vaughan and Justin Sherwood, with the leading AMs. Next, Peter Mangan and Peter Kyle Henney alongside on row 6. Next comes newcomer Dan Kirby, podium in race 1, his first Porsche race. Esme Hawkey alongside, ahead of Richard Hawken and Fraser Robertson. Row 9 is David Fairbrother and Gary Eastwood, and then come Seamus Jennings and Ian Dockrell. Steve Gales is on row 11 with Jake Giddings, who had 2 punctures in the first race. And then at the very back, racing for the very first time in the championship, Valentin Asclot, the French driver who was mighty impressive in the early few laps of the opening race until he fell off into the tyres at the first corner. But up until that point, the pace had been really good.
Yeah, he was really going well. He's a French junior rookie champion and drives for Sébastien Loeb Racing in French Carrera Cup. So very quick, very experienced driver, but he's going to have to show us his overtaking skills in this race. One little interesting thing, because the teams have 3 sets of new tyres for Friday practice and the qualifying session. And some of the teams elected, because of the hot weather, not to use their new tyres on Friday. Some did, some didn't, but it meant that they were leaving a brand new set for this race. So the JTR cars and Dino Zamparelli are starting on a brand new set of tyres. Teo Elenas in his slide sports car isn't. That could be a little different.
Okay, it's a long race as well. It's 30 minutes or 14 laps, depending on which comes first. But Dino Zamparelli, if you look at it on paper, was a dominant winner this morning, but it was such a polished drive in very testing conditions.
Yeah, completely different. In the wet, the team got the car absolutely right for him, the right tyre pressures, the right settings on the car, and Dino drove a beautiful race. It's a much more equal platform now. They've had lots of testing here recently, and all the teams know their cars in the drive, so I expect the performance to be much, much closer.
There is Dino Zamparelli. He will start 5th for this semi-reversed grid race. George Gamble, who's been a double winner this year, will be behind him. Dan Harper there, he's been a race winner. He will start 4th. Theo Alinas has had a win. He starts 3rd. Lewis Plato's had a win. He's on the outside of the front row. This man has had a win. It's Tom Wrigley, and he lines up on pole position. And he was impressive also in the British round of Porsche Super Cup when it came to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix earlier this month. So there he is, good to go. We will get set for 14 laps of racing and 3 battles to look for, of course, because we've got what happens overall as well as in Pro-Am and the Am Cup. So we're ready to go. Everybody is back in place. The circuit is still a bit damp and greasy. Expect drama as ever from the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain. We wait for the lights to go red. 1 or 2 marshals leaning over the pit wall, suggesting they might be concerned about something. Let us see. Are we ready to go? Drivers now see a light that goes red. Who will make the best start as we go racing? It's not Dan Harper who bogs down and gets mugged by George Gamble. Tom Wrigley makes a decent start. Lewis Plato tries to go with him on the outside line, down towards Riches. But Tom Wrigley has the inside line. Lewis Plato keeps on coming. Who's going to come out ahead? It's Wrigley on the inside line, up towards Wilson on the outside line. 77 is Plato. 3rd is Theo Alinas as they hit the brakes for the hairpin, and Wrigley it is who takes over the race lead. That was brave stuff by both through the first corner.
Yeah, they went side by side, and Plato was trying to get around the outside of Wrigley, but Wrigley wasn't having anything of it. And as you say, Dan Harper, the Porsche scholar, got the worst start. The lights went out very quickly and just caught him napping.
A good start by Wrigley, and Asclo is already on the move. He's gained at least 6 places, maybe more, coming now down towards Agostini. So number 88, the large, the yellow and white car of Valentin Asclo. He's never raced at Snetterton up until this weekend. He's going very well indeed as Wrigley with a bit of trim hanging off the side. Leads Plato, 3rd Alinas, then Zamparelli going through. 6th is where you find Dan Harper. And look, there is Asclo on the inside line of Peter Kyle Henney. Kyle Henney started 12th, Asclo is ahead of him, and he started 23rd. Overtaking skills, I suspect now, are being displayed nicely.
Yes, so far so good. Nothing like a charged up driver. But of course, the drivers that he's passing are the Pro-Am and the Am class drivers who have no interest in fighting him. Oh, we've got some spinner at the background, a lot of cloud of smoke, and someone's gone off. But that's great progress by Asclo. It's Richard Hawken that spun. But Wrigley's got a little bit of a lead, bit of a bodywork coming off on the side, as you say, but he's got a good lead so far. Asclo, there he comes into shot. He's in the second of the motor-based cars run by David Bartram, the BTCC team owner, alongside Dan Bourne.
So at the end of that one, Tom Wrigley converting pole position into the race lead. Dan Kirby goes through, Esme Hawkey goes through, and a replay here on board with Esme Hawkey of a very busy first lap, and Richard Hawken being tagged into that spin by Dan Kirby. And Hawkey just avoids Hawken. That was close.
Very good avoidance and very good commentary, David, getting the 2 Hawks right. But yeah, she went exactly the right way. Good avoidance by Esme.
Hawkeye. So Tom Wrigley leads ahead of Lewis Plato. There is Theo Alinas. Look in the background there. You can see Jamie Orton going defensive against Seb Perez. They had a great battle for class honours in the first race, and it's as though they haven't had a break at all. They just carried on where they left off early on in the day.
Yeah, you're right. The first lap looks like the last lap of the first race.
So game on again between the two of them, and they're holding each other up now, dropping into the clutches of Valentin Asclo. 23rd he started, he was 10th at the end of the opening lap. That's excellent. Oh, with Gary Eastwood. Boom, into the tyres.
Yeah, the car's not stopping quite as well on the grass today as they have been in midweek testing when the grass was nice and dry. Now it's wet, it's a whole different story. Going back to the Porsche Super Cup race you talked about at the British Grand Prix, the outing these guys had at the Grand Prix, the International Super Cup, Tom Wrigley actually qualified 5th, a fantastic performance, raised a lot of heads in the Super Cup paddock in his MSS kit sponsored car, but faded a bit in the race with tyre wear. In fact, Dino Zamparelli finished best of the Brits in 7th.
good to see them mixing it so well, wasn't it, with the regulars in those cars. It's a hugely competitive championship, so is this. And Dino Zamparelli now is going after Tio Elinas. Remember that Zamparelli started 5th on the grid, Elinas 3rd. And Tio was on pole position for the first race of the weekend, but he hasn't really, again, been able to deliver the results from the pace. Down towards the end of lap number 2 they come. Now, is Wrigley getting away from Plato? Let's see. 9/10 the margin was at the end of the opening lap. Through they come now. These two certainly have cleared off as far as Elinas is concerned. And the gap between them is down. It's 8/10 now. Plato just fractionally the quicker.
Yeah, it's early days yet. The tyres coming up to pressure. They'll be set. These cars are heavy cars, they're powerful cars. They put a lot of weight and stress on the Michelin controlled tyre, so the teams do have to set the pressures a little bit low at the start, and it could be lap 5, 6, 7 even before we see the absolute fastest, quickest lap.
Dan Harper, in the meantime, trying to get back onto terms with George Gamble. He's fallen back into 6th place after that sluggish start. There are the leaders. They're pairing off a bit, really. There's a fight for the lead, one for 3rd and one for 5th. Down towards Agostini they come. Lap 3 of 14 laps, or 30 minutes, depending on which comes first, given conditions or safety cars potentially. But has Plato got an answer to Tom Wrigley, who won at Alton Park? And Wrigley leading the way here as they swing their way up through Hamilton's once again. There's Dan Harper, one of many drivers out of Carrera Cup GB, busy at Goodwood a fortnight ago.
Yeah, Porsche GB keeping him very busy. Lots of opportunities for the young scholar in the first of his 2 years with Porsche. Following the footsteps of Charlie Eastwood, who won the championship last year, so big shoes to fill. Charlie's obviously moved on to WEC and Blancpain Racing, and very successfully too, but still maintains links with Porsche and doing some VLN races. As Zamparelli clips one of the markers on the inside first of the left corners on the S's. Putting some pressure on Elinas now. Looks like his tyres are coming in quite quickly, which of course they will do, being brand new ones. If Elinas can resist him early on, it will be more even later in the race when the tyres even off.
Here is the challenge being made by Fraser Robertson against Steve Gales, who gets muscled out wide and then whoops, has a big old lose across the grass. There's lots of runoff there, and he explores most of it.
Yeah, he just lit the rear up. Powerful cars these, 500 horsepower, no traction control. He just got the tyre out onto the dirt and lit it up, didn't he?
That's right. Now, the fastest lap of the race, intriguingly, Dan Harper down in 6th place. He's back onto the tail of George Gamble. We're on lap 4 of 14. Harper 4 seconds away from the race leader. But, of course, the longer he sits behind Gamble, the more the gap will grow. Up to 3rd, Zamparelli against Elinas now. Yeah,
big, crucial move. Championship move again. Zamparelli using the best of those new tyres. I didn't see the move, but he's up into a crucial 3rd place, and he'll push now to see if he can break away from Elinas.
So can Dino Zamparelli go after the top 2? They're going through is Lewis Plato. 6/10 the gap has grown to this time. So the margin between the leaders just extending a little bit. And Dan Harper, he's already done that fastest lap of the race, and he went quicker again last time around, a 1:53.818. But he can't find a way past Gamble. But Dino Zamparelli could well be the man to watch. He is 2.6 seconds away from the race leader, and there's still plenty of race time to go.
Yeah, there is, and that, I don't know what happened. Well, hopefully we'll get a replay, but Elinas may have made a mistake. It may have been a forced move from Zamparelli, but a crucial move. And look, Zamparelli looks to have pace now. He's using the best of those tyres to stretch it away from Elinas. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the fastest lap of the... Well, we didn't see if he got held up in the overtaking bench, but he's certainly got really good pace now, look.
Yeah, so Dino Zamparelli pushing hard. Tio Elinas doing his best to go with him, but underlines the benefit of brand new tyres. Now, look at this for the lead. It was 6/10 last time to the eye. It's come down a bit, unless Lewis Plato had gone too deep into that final corner of the lap and therefore loses a little bit of time. Let's see, over the timing line they will come. 6/10 has become 0.341 of a second, and Plato does the fastest lap.
Yeah, he closed up and used the toe nicely there, did Plato. Wrigley's trying to control this race, control his tyres.
Down towards Wilson hairpin they come, so Lewis Plato, wanting to win it, looking ever more determined to find a way past Tom Wrigley. Now, of course, if they start squabbling for the lead, that might just help Dino Zamparelli catch up to them in 3rd place.
Well, here's the move I think we're going to see from Zamparelli. Yes, look. Well found, guys, and it was a nice clean move for Zamparelli. Elinas outbraked himself and ran wide and just opened the door. The pressure told. Is the pressure going to tell on Wrigley from Plato?
Or can Zamparelli get up with them before long? They're in 4th place. Elinas, look at 5th. Dan Harper trying to find a way round George Gamble. So still plenty to shake out of this. In the classes, Pro-Am is being led by Jamie Alton, and the AMs, Peter Mannion, in a very impressive 11th place overall.
Yeah, he's doing very well. It's a good battle. Oh, Harper's starting to look a bit aggressive. He wants past Gamble, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And the track is nicely dry now everywhere. The driver's being able to use the curbs. It's dry across. It's crucially dry on the inside for out-braking manoeuvres. As Harper looked, but it was covered off by Gamble. So Harper's gone round the outside. Is he going to make this? This is a great move. He does, and he gets the car stopped and turned. That was a great move by Harper because he dummied Gamble into defending and then braking early.
Fantastic job done. Through to get now 5th place. In 8th spot, still hustling on Valentin Asclot as the cars now come down towards the S's. Esme Hawkey there, just going through on the inside of Peter Mannion. That's a change for 11th place now. Esme Hawkey goes through. Justin Sherwood is next behind them as they accelerate down towards Bonhole. So the race leaders are on lap number 5, now on to lap number 6. The gap between the top 2 is 0.337, but the fastest lap of the race done by Dino Zamparelli. He is over a second faster than the 2 ahead of him. It's going to be 3 for the lead soon.
Wow, that's a big chunk. As a big chunk to pull in 1 lap at this rate, because I didn't see Wrigley doing any defending particularly. But if they're lapping that much slower, Elinas will catch up the group, and I guess Zamparelli will be faced with a decision of does he push to get past either of the 2 in front, or risk Elinas catching him up, and don't put a wheel on the dirt there.
That's Steve Gales, and it's going to go around. That's his 2nd drama of the race.
Yeah, sometimes drivers getting used to left-hand drive cars, they misjudge the width of the car. They're looking at an apex to their left, and they put the right-hand wheel on the grass, and that's exactly what happened there.
So Dino Zamparelli, fastest lap of the race, and he's almost up with Plato. Look, who now has to make a decision. Does he start defending, or does he keep attacking for the race lead and try to find a way through? Onto Bentley Straight Lane Cup. This is lap 6 out of 14. Theo Elinas, and his last lap was 9/10 slower than Zamparelli, so he's falling away from him, but in turn he's still clear of the Harper Gamble 5th place battle. Asclot in 8th spot, and he's not given up yet either. So it is now 3 for the lead. Double pressure for Wrigley, double drama really for Plato. He's trying to attack and defend at the same time as they come into bomb hole once again. Elinas though has dropped back. Can he get back into this race effectively by the top 3 drivers holding each other up?
Yeah, he definitely will if they start squabbling. Definitely. I mean, it's more likely that Plato will defend from Zamparelli than attack, and that will allow Elinas to catch up as Harper gets wide, Gamble gets wide. With some black warning flags going out. That's car 32.
George Gamble.
Which is George Gamble, yeah.
So that's the driving standards flag for track limit abuse. Another fastest lap for Dino Zamparelli, a 52.941, so he's getting ever closer. Look to the leaders, and he's lapping faster than them as there. Valentin Asclot goes ahead of Jamie Alton, so that puts the French driver 7th from 23rd on the grid. Brilliant stuff, this.
There's a great driver, and all his moves have been absolutely clean.
So you can understand why he's so good in the French Championship. As there, Dino Zamparelli accelerates along the straight down towards Agostini.
Let's hope we see some more of Asclot in the remaining races. Like to see, I don't know if he has clashes with the French. I think he can do not kill, but I think there may be, yeah, that'd be a baptism of fire.
Good for him. Lucky old Valentin.
Yeah. Yes, we have this quaint little circuit in Not Kill. You'll love it. But I've just been racing at Le Mans. No, you'll love it.
A little shorter.
But I think the Silverstone and France races may clash with the French calendar.
OK, well, let's hope we do see Valentin Asclot, and maybe he can stay on for another season next year. We shall wait and see. It's not that long ago that we had the likes of Nicholas Latifi in the championship, don't forget. Now, Dino Zamparelli, fastest lap of the race last time on a 1:52.941, right onto the back of Plato, down into Brundle and Nelson they come, and just trying to edge away a little bit now is Tom Wrigley in the lead of the race. He needs Plato to be delayed and distracted by Zamparelli behind him, doesn't he?
Well, that's already happening. Plato's now driving on his mirrors rather than looking at the car in front, and that's allowing Wrigley to get away a little bit. I don't think Wrigley's going faster. I think that Plato is just distracted by Zamparelli behind. Look, a little bit of a mistake there, running wide. Elinas And Harper's coming on Elinas. Is Harper quicker than Elinas? Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And this is Justin Sherwood keeping at bay Peter Mangian, who is keeping at bay Peter Kyle Henney. So the AM battle. Justin Sherwood has just got past Peter Mangian, so he's pulling away from the AM. He's passed him, he's dragging clear. And so now the battle is on for the class lead. There, look, Zamparelli all over the back of 77. That is Lewis Plato for second spot. Tom Wrigley 6/10 up this time as they came over the line. We're on lap 8 of the 14, and Zamparelli is the man to watch now.
This could end up being a nice little 5-car train, actually, if Harper and Elinas catch up.
Yeah, Elinas is taking his time about it, though, isn't he? He's inching up, but he's not storming onto the tail of Zamparelli, who is now stuck behind Plato. Where does he find a way by? And look, because Plato is defending, so Wrigley in the lead is just extending that gap finally.
Yeah, and it's very difficult. I mean, it was easy to get past Elinas because of a mistake, but Plato is cool under pressure.
And also getting a driving standards flag this lap for track limits. Black and white flag for car 77, Lewis Plato. Driving standards flag will go to him this time. Now, Dan Harper has just done the absolute best in the first sector, so Theo Elinas' 4th place could be in jeopardy. He's a 2.5 to the good against Dan Harper, but Harper lapping quicker in the sectors.
And ironically, that might help Zamparelli, because Elinas' focus will then go on defending from Harper instead of attacking ahead. So it's a great race of fluctuation, and that's why Porsche have introduced this partial reverse grid race to the second race. To get some variation in it. It's resulted in a lot of different winners. Not universally popular, I would say, in the paddock, but certainly it's provided more winners and good racing.
Definitely so. Tom Wrigley benefiting from it for this race because he leads the way. Last time, the margin he had over the rest was 6/10. So this is for the AM lead. Peter Kyle Henney tries to squeeze up the inside of Peter Mangian, can't do it. And Dan Kirby, look, he's right there behind them. Dan, who's raced in Ginettas on the Toka package. Prior to that, he drove in the BMW Compact Cup. But on his first weekend of the championship, it looks like he's going to get 2 podiums, and he's right up there with established regular race winners. He's doing a brilliant job.
He is, and in the first race he had a spin and still caught them by the end of the race. This time he's behind them very early on, so he's got plenty of time to make some moves.
So let's see what he can do. As there, Tom Wrigley led again by 0.6 of a second over the line onto this lap. Lewis Plato trying to attack and defend at the same time. Dan Harper, fastest lap of the race now in 5th place. And look, he's almost onto the tail of Theo Elinas. They turn. Up the curve goes Dino Zamparelli. Fascinating, isn't it? Because he did all the hard work. He's managed to catch Plato, but now it's much, much tougher to find a way through.
Yeah, I mean, at a point he was a second quicker, wasn't he? But once you get onto the back of the car, that's another possible track infringement. There are pressure pads here, and there's no arguing it. If you click a pressure pad, then that's it. And Plato's already had a warning, and that exit there from Williams is one of the places there are pressure pads.
And somebody else being given a warning is the race leader. So Tom Wrigley now will get a driving standards flag 2. Lewis Plato 2nd, Dino Zamparelli in 3rd place. We're on lap 9, 14 now, so the drivers just keep pushing irregardless because they know that there's going to be this potential problem of a penalty for exceeding track limits, and it happens lap after lap after lap. The MSV circuit, Snetterton being one of them, registered official Leona. MSV, you are monitored with these pressure pads. It's like a speed camera. A photograph is taken, and so there's no argument about it. The photograph is there of where the car is. Now look in the AM class here. Peter Mangian under pressure again from Peter Kyle Henney, but right with them is Dan Kirby as they drop down against all the S's. Peter Mangian making the car very wide indeed, but Kirby could be the real danger here. He's on for a podium, but which step is not yet decided.
Well, he looks like a racer to me. I haven't watched him race before, but he looks like a charger, and we'll see how he goes. He's in the GT Marks team alongside Esme Hawking. That car was originally driven at the start of this year by James Kay, wasn't it? And it's now in his hand. He's going well with it.
Definitely so, as you look at Dino Zamparelli again onto the back of Plato. Look behind them, 4th and 5th, Elinas and Harper are almost there.
Yeah, Elinas has not been able to stay with the lead 3, and he's now very much got Harper on his case.
So through they come on the 10th lap out of 14. There is Theo Elinas then, with Dan Harper crawling all over him. And of course, Elinas, having been unable to stay with the top 3, now that he's defending, will drop further away again. Dan Harper needs to get through in a big, big hurry here before that gap becomes even greater. So onto Bentley Straight they come once again. Lap 10, Tom Wrigley looking for a second victory of the season. Lewis Plato would like a second victory as well. And Dino Zamparelli, winner earlier on in the day for his third win of the season, is still looking for a way to get past Plato. And now Wrigley escaping again.
Yeah, but Plato's had a slow lap this lap, and he's backing Zamparelli into this next group, and Zamparelli's going to have to make a decision at some point. Does he really go for it or not? But it's allowing Wrigley a nice clear run at the front.
Out of quorum they come. The leader is certainly breaking clear this time. The fastest lap still claimed by Dan Harper. There is the pit board. 4 laps to go. You're in P1, Tom Wrigley, and the gap last time, 0.457, is now 1.2 seconds, greater than it has been race long. So Zamparelli, even if he can get past Plato, is losing time against the race leader. It's becoming doubly difficult. He still can't get past the car of Lewis Plato, and the leader is getting further away up front. And there is Elinas, who is closing and is taking Harper with him.
Now spots of rain I can see on the camera. Is there potentially a little bit of drizzle in the air?
In the air, certainly one or two of the back markers with wipers on. So yes, the rain is just starting to come back.
Yeah, apparently reports of wipers being used, so potentially it is. It's at the moment the tyres are nicely up to temperature. Isn't there anything to worry about?
Steve Gales gets out of the way of the leaders. Through goes Wrigley. Lewis Plato on the outside just hesitates, understandably. There is Mangian versus Carl Henny for the lead of the AMS. Peter Mangian drives a wide car. Peter Carl Henny has had a very successful season, 3 wins to his credit, 4 to Peter Mangian, and now at the inside goes Carl Henny. He's going to make contact. Dan Kirby might suddenly find himself second or even in the lead. Let's see. He's right there with them. The two Peters lean on each other going through the hairpin at Wilson. On the inside line for turn 3 will be Peter Mangian, and here comes Kirby up the inside, gets a face full of Carl Henny, can't find a way through though.
Well, they just about got away with that, didn't they?
And Dan Kirby is going to get a driving standards flag this time as Plato, Zamparelli, Elinas and Harper. Second, third, fourth, fifth are absolutely together, and here comes Harper up the inside line. Through Bombhole, he's level now with the Cypriot driver, Theo Elinas. He's going to go through. Yes, job done.
Yeah, I think they got held up, didn't they? They were passing that Stephen Gales through Agostini, and the leader got through, and fighting back is Elinas, and Harper's out on the grass, and I think Wrigley got through, and then the next group all came across Stephen Gales as they were going through the kink.
So it means that Wrigley is clear now by 3 seconds. Plato is second, Zamparelli third. Up into fourth is Harper. Elinas fighting back and still charging along behind in 7th place. Behind George Gamble is Valentin Asclose. 7th he runs from 23rd on the grid. But the leading quintet long gone, and there are certainly more spots of rain on that camera up at Wilson. Yeah,
that's always where the rain comes from. It's up at well, turn 1 at Riches and at Montreal. We tend to get the rain coming there first.
Tom Wrigley now has been given this huge gap, so he just has to bring it home, doesn't he? Doesn't have to put a wheel out of line now, because all the squabbling is going on behind him, and there is the gap. Thanks to the traffic, that little bit of hesitation, inevitable, and also the track surface changing means that the gap has widened between the top 2. Now there is the AM back, still raging on. It is still Peter Mangian ahead of Peter Carl Henny, Dan Kirby right there behind them. And there is a 5-second penalty, we understand, being offered to 84 Richard Hawken, which I assume is for track limit abuse. So we've had some drivers being given a warning flag, others on their receiver being warned, and Richard Hawken is going to get a penalty. So there, Plato versus Zamparelli, and you've got Dan Harper getting ever closer to them on this 12th lap.
The points for race 2 are slightly less than in race 1 to reflect the reverse grid, but nevertheless the winner of race 2 gets 10 points as opposed to 12 points from winning the first race. Second place in race 2 is 8 as opposed to 10, and then it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the remaining places. So not really many points on offer, but second place is worth 2 more points than third.
You have to factor in the drop scores at the end of the season. And Dino Zamparelli.
And penalties.
Yeah, Dino Zamparelli lost out on the drop scores last year. So there he goes, desperately keen to win this year's championship. And Tom Wrigley, well, he was 3.1 seconds ahead. The gap's down to 2.5. So this battle pack, 4 cars fighting over second, is closing back onto the tail of the race leader. Now, that could be Wrigley driving within himself, of course, and just looking after the car, the gap, and coping with the weather too.
Yeah, I think he's just being sensible. He's also had a warning for track infringements, so there's no point in pushing to the limit. Zamparelli getting a nice power oversteer there. Wrigley just needs to bring it home, not fall foul of the weather, not put a wheel over the sensors, and just bring it home.
So here they come, up towards Hamilton, lap 13. Tom Wrigley from pole position, set to score a race win, barring any mistakes or any problems. Dino Zamparelli never giving up in his quest to find a way past Lewis Plato, and fair play to Lewis. He's done a great job of defending from the man that's done the bulk of the winning in the championship this year. Dan Harper, though, now has arrived on the tail to distract Zamparelli from his quest of gaining a place, because Dino's still trying to attack but also having to defend. And what about Theo Alinas? Again, he's dropped away and he just hasn't seemingly got the ultimate pace of those around him.
No, it's not been the best weekend, despite that pole position, which was gained, you know, on real merit. He hasn't had the race pace either in the wet or the dry, has he? But fortunately for him, the 2 points for pole position does counter some of the points lost in the race.
Second season in the championship for Theo Alinas, different team this year, but he came into it with a really good track record in single-seater racing. He has had a win in Carrera Cup. It was a long time coming, but he's not had as many successes as you might have expected from him. The leaders, though, are about to start the last lap of the race. They're going through is Theo Alinas. He runs 5th as he powers his way now up over the line. Dino Zamparelli goes through, as onto the final lap goes Tom Wrigley. There for second place is Plato. 3rd, Zamparelli. 4th, Harper. And 5th is Alinas. Jamie Orton leads Pro-Am. Peter Mannion somehow is still repelling all comers to lead the Am class.
Zamparelli put his wipers on as he came up the start-finish line, so clearly the rain is coming a little bit more. It just makes you question your braking point. That's the thing. You lose a bit of temperature in the fronts, or the track gets a bit slippery, and you just question your braking point a little bit.
Again with the car really sliding. You can see how much commitment is being put in, and so too for Dan Harper, who is right there behind him. Theo Alinas just dropping a length or so as they come into turn 4. Agostini through this technical section, the infield. Short straight, go left into Hamilton. And Tom Wrigley is being caught. Remember, 3 seconds 2 laps ago, 1.6 now. But does he have enough in hand? And can he up his pace if it is required? Last lap as they come onto Benton Straight.
Yeah, he's driven well. Benefited from the reverse grid. He was 5th in race 1, but handed pole for race 2. He's had a fairly straightforward run to a nice chunk of points, 10 points.
That's right, so Tom Wrigley leads the pack, 1.6 seconds starting this lap. Lewis Plato, another good solid effort to hang on to second under pressure all the way through. 3rd is Dino Zamparelli, 5th on the grid, and he is now the one having to defend rather than attack. There is Dan Harper behind him as through Bombhole for the last time comes Tom Wrigley. He won at Alton Park, and it looks as though it is going to be a win here for the JTR car. JTR, Great Tandy Racing, Big Tandy's team. And Tom Wrigley, Ginetta Super Cup champion, Porsche race winner. He's going to be a double Porsche race winner now, because it's a 2nd victory of the season. The rest are closing, but not enough and not in time. Tom Wrigley will win now round 10 of Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain as he crosses the line 8/10 ahead of Lewis Plato. Dino Zamparelli takes 3rd ahead of Dan Harper, and Theo Alinas is 5th. And this is for the Pro-Am lead, 8th overall. Jamie Orton just ahead of Seb Perez, with Dan Vaughan for Motorbase chasing on behind them up to the line. Now comes Jamie Orton, another victory for him. That is a 5th Pro-Am win of the season. And in the AMs, absolutely together, the Peters, Mannion ahead of Carl Henny. Dan Kirby has dropped back a bit after a moment, I suspect. But Peter Mannion is trying to hang on to this for another 2 corners. We've had some great racing out of the AMs this year. And both Peter Mannion and Peter Carl Henny evenly matched. They're both pretty experienced drivers. Peter Mannion was in Caterhams a long, long time ago. And as he comes now down towards the end of a 14th fraught lap, the checkered flag is in sight, and with it, it's going to be a 5th AM class win of the season. Well done, Peter Mannion. But look, he's only a couple of lengths up on Peter Carl Henny. The 2 of them cross the line with Dan Kirby, a 2nd podium of the day, and it's only his 2nd Porsche race.
Yeah, Dan just falling away from those 2. Not surprisingly with the spots of rain on the screen, but a great weekend, a strong weekend for Peter Mannion.
So a great drive by Tom Wrigley, and the JTR driver acknowledges the appreciation of the crowd. Lewis Plato second, and third going the way of Dino Zamparelli. But it's been another very interesting race and some great battling going on. And this year's championship proving to be ultra competitive. The rest of the cars still pouring over the line. Ian Dockrell 17, Seamus Jennings, Fraser Robertson behind him, and then David Ferrer for 20th place. But Tom Wrigley will be very pleased with that. Scoring the maiden win is one thing, but being able to repeat it and prove that it wasn't a flash in the pan is another. And then he's, of course, done something that Lewis Plato and Dan Harper hasn't, and that's to take a second victory.
Team boss Nick Tandy's here today, so he'll be pleased to see his cars take a 1-2 finish in this race. But it'll be Tio Elinas, I think, probably the most disappointed. Pole for the first race, lost out on the first race, and then a mistake in this cost him a couple of positions.
Well, Tom Wrigley has done a fine job to score honours in this 10th round of the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain. Gary Eastwood, the one non-finisher in that race after his spin at Richards when he went off the road. And now the drivers head down the pit road into Parc Fermé. Tom Wrigley wins round 10 of Carrera Cup Great Britain. Lewis Plato second, and then Dino Zamparelli takes third. Fourth goes the way of Dan Harper from Tio Elinas. George Gamble sixth, and a great drive from the very back of the grid to seventh, Valentin Astclos. Eighth, Jamie Orton to win in Pro-Am from Seb Perez, and then Dan Vaughan in 10th place. Jake Giddings, a good drive this time for 11th. Esme Hawkey, 12th from Justin Sherwood. And then the AMS won 14th overall by Peter Mangian from Peter Kyle Henney and Dan Kirby. Ian Dockrell next ahead of Seamus Jennings. Fraser Robertson is 19th, and 20th goes the way of David Fairbrother.